Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Friday, June 16th, 2023. And our top story today, could a moderate protein diet be the key to youth? And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Stuart Phillips is with McMaster University. Stu, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
How important, before we get into the research, I just want to start off with a baseline question. How important is protein, just in general, to our diet and to aging?
Yeah, I think, well, it's my favorite macronutrient out of, if you forget carbohydrates and fats. And I always point out to people that carbs and fats are fuel, whereas protein is a structural substrate. So we don't just need it. And we burn a little bit of it as fuel, but we use it to make the tissues in our body. So, to me anyway, I think it's the most important macronutrient. And from an aging perspective, when you're not growing or getting bigger, but you're sort of maybe getting smaller a little bit, I think it's particularly important.
Yeah, well, that 9.8, that pull of gravity, I was once 5'8". I think I'm closer to 5'7.5" now.
Yeah. It's a common phenomenon. People get a little shorter and their muscles get a little smaller. And so it's a slow process, but that's an erosion and a loss of protein, both cases.
So when we talk about protein, are we talking about, and I want to get to the study in just 1 second, but when we talk about protein, are we talking about lean proteins like chicken, steak, beef jerky, nuts, I think, are a source of protein? Define that for us. How do you, as a doctor, someone who studied this field for a long time, how do you define protein?
Yeah, I mean, I think for most people, it's the usual suspects. It would be lean meat, either beef, chicken, pork, fish, something like that. Dairy products, so milk or Greek-style yogurt, pretty rich in protein. Eggs, that sort of thing. But yeah, there are plant-sourced proteins, a lot of nuts, a lot of legumes, beans, lentils, that sort of thing. Very rich in protein. So lots of different sources. I think a few years ago, we used to say, well, plant proteins aren't quite as good as animal proteins. But I think, every piece of research I've seen in the last 10 years would suggest that those things are much closer than we once thought.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the research. And as we age, I think you all make the point that we tend not to have as much protein, but we need the protein to build our muscles. We can talk about hormone levels, but why is a moderate amount of protein, and I'm 51, so I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm on the downside, but, I'm getting older. I try to eat, I'm definitely not on the downside. I just want to be clear about that to the audience. But I try to eat enough, like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, I guess is the bodybuilding standard. But why is a moderate amount of protein going to be important as we age? And is there a point, an age that you were focused on in your research?
Yeah, so we're really interested in, I would say the first half of my career, it was all, young university age men and women and making them bigger, stronger, faster. And, lots of fun, great research to do. And, as I've gotten older, so research becomes me search. And I'm also the director of a facility that the average age of people who come from the community to exercise in is about 73. So, it struck me that a lot of these people were struggling to perform, but it was activities of daily living that they were more interested in as opposed to, climbing on a podium and getting a medal around their neck. And the loss of muscle and even a little bit of bone. I mean, I think it's a newsflash to most people to understand that 40% of your bone by composition is actually protein. It's not just a stick of chalk. So protein is the substrate that builds all of those structures, and we lose those, as you said, as we age. When that starts, it's really difficult to say. I think for healthy, active people, it's probably not until maybe your 6th decade, so in your 50s. But for some people who are less active, I think it could start as early as your 30s even. So we were interested in more trying to mitigate the decline rather than taking somebody who's in their 70s, not that it's ever a bad time, and trying to sort of bend them back up. And that's a much tougher proposition. So prevention as opposed to sort of trying to help somebody a little later in their life.
Yeah, and I've got one more question before we go to a commercial break. And look, we're living longer, and I would argue that more and more people, even though we have more sedentary lifestyles, there are more and more people that are older that are active. They walk, they row, they do some level of speed walking. This means that we're going to be living longer, and so having the right balance of protein and some of the other physiological elements really helps with having a better lifestyle when you get to be 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe even triple digits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all appreciate that in the last century, you've added 30 plus years to our life expectancy. What hasn't gone along with it is the proportion of our lives that we've spent in good health, or what we call our health span. But definitely, the fundamental pillars of a longer health span are, first, be active as you can be and want to be, independent on your goals. But then at the same time, to have a prudent diet. And I think, it includes an amount of protein that's a little bit higher than most people recommend.
Yeah. Well, Stu, as I said, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about how a moderate amount of protein can really help you as you age. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Invesco's latest Show Me the Income study reflects on the evolving retirement industry today as it faces the pressing need to help participants turn their defined contribution plan savings into long-term retirement income. Key findings from the research uncover that nearly 7 in 10 participants fear running out of money in retirement, and only 22% were very confident they could create a retirement income strategy on their own. What can employers do to help? To learn more about the study and request the white paper, visit Invesco.com/retirement income or contact your Invesco DC professional. Cited research is based on Invesco's work with Greenwald Research. Invesco is not affiliated with Greenwald Research. Invesco Advisors, Inc. is an investment advisor that provides investment advisory and does not sell securities. Invesco Distributors, Inc. is the U.S. distributor for Invesco's retail products and private placements. Both are indirect wholly owned subsidiaries of Invesco Limited.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives.
I'm a divorced single mom, and my ex-husband left me and the kids with a lot of unpaid bills, including unpaid taxes. I was really starting to show my stress on my kids because the IRS had sent me a letter demanding a huge payment from me. I couldn't afford it. So then the IRS was threatening to garnish my wages. I'm already living paycheck to paycheck. That would have put me over the edge financially.
It truly seemed hopeless, but then a friend at work told her to call the tax relief line.
The people at the tax relief line, they told me about something called innocent spouse relief. They worked it out so that all of the taxes from my ex are not my problem. I don't know how that works, and I don't care. All I care about is that I don't owe the IRS a dime, and they are not going to take my paycheck.
Even if it seems hopeless, you should call the number on your screen right now. There is absolutely no cost for the call or the consultation. You are under no obligation. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. It's very easy to get started. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
Well, Stu, thanks so much for staying with us this morning. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2 this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back, Jeff.
Yeah, and I was really, I thought I was going to introduce you as the Ponce de Leon of modern aging, but we'll get to we'll get there. So let's talk a little bit about, you talked about the importance of moderate protein and how that goes to building, prevents all sorts of disease and helps you with your longevity. I want to ask you about the hormone balance, because as we get older, I think men, I want to say in your mid to late 20s, you start seeing your testosterone going down. I don't know when women start to lose their estrogen, but maybe it could be as early as your 30s or 40s. But how does the protein and how do the hormones all interrelate here?
Yeah, I think that, for women, it's pretty stereotypical around the menopause, which usually for most women is, early 50s. For estrogen to decline, and most women could identify that, their bone mass is going to get worse after that point. But I think one of the dirty little secrets is that muscle declines in parallel. So the loss of that little bit of stimulation from estrogen in women is important. Men, it's the same thing, but it's a more gradual decline, as you said, in testosterone. Some people refer to andropause as the loss of the androgenic steroid hormone, testosterone. And you get a lot of the same manifestations. And so bones get weaker, muscles get smaller. The only way to push back against either of those is physical activity. And from a muscular and a bone standpoint, it's got to be resistive type work. So it's basically weightlifting or using your own body weight and moving against that. Not the walking or swimming or biking aren't great exercises for your heart and lungs, but we're talking about muscles now. So you need some weight in there.
Yeah, I guess you don't want to go to the moon to exercise because that's only 1/6 the Earth's gravity. But none of us, except for Elon Musk, have the opportunity, I guess, to go there. Let me ask you about supplementation. So when I was growing up, there was Carnation Instant Breakfast. And by the way, they're not a sponsor of the network, but there's other types of supplements now. How do supplements fit in, especially protein supplements? So I grew up in the bodybuilding world, Sean Ray, Ronnie Coleman. They would always promote whey or egg white supplements. But how do you balance the supplementation with whole food, real food?
Yeah, I think that the distinction is, and to be really clear, I don't know that you need supplements. They're convenient, and a lot of people use them in that way. And I wouldn't say definitely don't use supplements, but they've come a long way since you and I were. It was Joe Weider protein powders, and No hack against the Weider brothers, but their protein powders from a taste perspective left a little bit to be desired. But these days, whey protein, still a very high quality protein, probably the highest quality that we know of. It tastes great. And egg white protein, still a very high quality protein. But we're now seeing rice protein, pea protein, lots of other things in there. Very convenient. They can be used, and I would say, not in excessive amounts, but to get your protein up to a level that you maybe couldn't if you were making the choices with food. But it doesn't have to be one or the other. For most people, it's probably best that they have a mixture because, foods contain all of the other things that we need to make our bodies function well anyway. So food first and protein supplements if you're finding trouble or you need convenience, basically.
Yeah, and just to kind of pick up on that, we're talking about a moderate protein diet, but that doesn't mean you need to leave out the vegetables, the carbohydrates, the nuts, the things that make for a balanced lifestyle. This is just the point that you need to have protein as you age because it's going to help you maintain the musculature that will feed your metabolism, help you keep the weight off, etc.
Yeah, exactly. If we haven't made that clear already, I think the point is that, and one of the things that's maybe gotten lost a little bit is the enjoyment of food. And so, yes, we're still talking about, shopping probably around the outside of the grocery store. I like to say produce and then dairy and then a little bit of sort of whole grain bread and meat and everything else like that. It's down those inner aisles that the food's probably maybe a bit more processed. They probably taste pretty good. And, lots of other things in them that aren't really, sort of quote unquote real food. And so whole foods are definitely where this is going, and definitely don't skip out on the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, you always got to nibble around the edges, as we say. Stu, we're going to have to leave it there. Great to talk to you. Great research. Continue on with this research. Hopefully you'll become the Ponce de Leon of the 2020s. We'll be looking forward to having you.
I would love to have that moniker. Thanks very much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That'd be great. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Okay, take care.
That wraps up this episode of BRNAM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line, and don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, visit our website, and of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN Weekly. We'll be taking a look back at markets and then taking a look back at some of our best segments for the week. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.